Welcome, everybody. We got the workshop for the Mayor and Aldermen meeting this is January 28, 2016. This is the workshop for the February 2nd, 2016 regular meeting. We got a citizen forum. We got one speaker, Bruce.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have one citizen that signed up to speak tonight, and that's Gertrude Phillips. Ms. Phillips, if you'll approach the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to say whatever you would like at this time.
Well, first of all, I want to thank each and every one to let me speak in behalf of what is going on with my house. I don't think there's a one of you here that would want the slush, the crud, and everything. I've lived in the house, and the air has come up through cracks where they've had to take out the old stuff that got burnt. Dennis, you stood in my living room, pulled your pants leg up, walked around and seen it in the den and in the utility room, and you said it was the city's fault. And if I can do anything to help you, I would. Then you came back a couple of days and left me your card. And you said if I need anything to let you know. I've been patient. I don't think any of y'all would want your mother to live in it, but I've lived in it. And I've smelt it. I still burn candles because sometimes it gets overbearing. I have asked Bruce, I met with him, and anytime anybody come out to my house to do a survey, I have asked them to mail me whatever findings that they have because I don't use the address. I had 5 mailboxes tore down in 1 year. All of my mail goes to the post office box. Bruce gave me a copy of a letter that y'all received on December the 17th. I did not get it, did not know of it, until Bruce gave it to me on January the 4th when he got back from vacation. I'm on a fixed income. I have a budget that I have to go by every month. I don't have money to fix my house. The only privilege that I get out of what we have, I save from 1 month to the next to get my nails fixed. I also take and make hats, amputee blankets for our veterans, and I know we've got veterans here. This is my consolation because my brother was killed in Germany in 1945. I love to see my veterans and the women, the hats that I make for children. That is my consolation. I only make them because the thread is given to me. And I know each and every one of you here. I know Sherry, been knowing Sherry for a long time. Her husband used to do my taxes. I don't get much money. I can tell you to a penny what I get, $52.11 from Kmart. That's when I worked at Waldron Books. I get $78.25 from Genesco, where I worked 12 and a half years. From my Social Security, I get $1,125. My house note is $600. What I have left is what I have to live on and pay bills where I borrowed money when I shouldn't have. But I'm paying the price. And I hope And each and every one of you here, if you want to come to my home, I'll gladly show you what I'm living in. It hurts. And I don't think there's a person in this room that would want to live in it or would want their mother to live in it. I have to use my walker. I had a back surgery. And now I can't get around and do like I used to. I'd give anything if I had the money to fix it. And if God my will and gives me strength, if I can stick back enough, I will put the clicker on my line because I can't go through this another time. This is the second time. The first time, Miss Mosley, Miss Green, and Dennis was all on the board, on the Aldermans, and Miss Mosley spoke up and said, if it's the city's fault, let's do it. It's the same line. I don't have no control over that line. And I noticed today they were out cleaning that line. How come it don't get cleaned out more than what it did today? My question is, would y'all live in it? Or would you rather sweep it under the rug? Thank you, sir.
Seeing if nobody else on the speak, we'll adjourn it and start the meeting the workshop. I guess we can go on in the workshop.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We'll just go on in the workshop then. Okay, we'll start the workshop. The prayers with Alderman Jones, pledge of allegiance with Alderman Brown. Everybody look the minutes over for January the 7th, 2016 regular meetings. Moving on to the presentations. We got an audit report from Yearly Howell and Associates. You ready?
They have those graphs to put on the board.
No, Glenn, it's in the actual meeting packet.
Oh, it's in the pack, okay. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. As the mayor said, I'm Greg Howell with Yearly Howell and Associates. I'm here to present your June 30th, 2015 audit report. Your audit did receive an unqualified opinion. That is the highest level of opinion you can receive. It means your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. As you're aware, the prior year report received the Government Finance Officer's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This means your report meets the highest standards in reporting and that you go far beyond the minimum requirements in providing financial information to your citizens. We believe this current year report continues to meet those high standards. All of you have a copy of the report, but I have prepared some graphs that show some of the trends and breakdowns of the financial information for the year, and at this time we'll go over those. First graph, go back, let's see, should be one on revenues before that. All right, this graph shows revenues of the city. About 70% of your revenues comes from local taxes, about 19% from intergovernmental, that's federal and state government, about 1.5% fines, 7.5% licenses, and 1.3% by uses of property and money, which would be rents and interest and things such as that. Your local taxes were up some this year from the prior year for two reasons. Sales tax was up about $1 million over what it was in 2014, and your property taxes are up about $115,000 from what it was from the prior year. All right, go to the next graph. This is your expenditures broken down. It's broken down in three categories. The red category represents your day-to-day operating expenses, salaries and expenses you incur every day. The yellow part of the graph represents what you pay for capital items, capital outlay, and the blue is what you pay for your debt service each year. That is fairly consistent with what it was last year. Your capital outlay expenditures were down this year compared to 14. I think that that 22% represents that represents about $5 million in capital expenditures 2015. Those are primarily related to the funding of the capital expenses for the fire department. That's down a little bit from what it was in 14. In 14, it was about $7 million. Go to the next graph, please. That takes your day-to-day operating expenses and breaks them down by department, pretty much. So 55% of your total budget spent on public safety, about 18% on general government, 12.8% on stormwater and streets, about 6.7% on recreation, 3.9% on library, and 2.5% on health and welfare. The biggest difference from the prior year there is that public safety is down a little bit because in 2014 is the year you bought the fire department. You had a lot of startup expenses in 2014. You had the contract going on as well as the startup expenses. So your actual total expenses for the fire department went down between 14 and 15 because of those factors. The other departments were pretty consistent with what they were in 2014. Okay, the next graph, your salaries and wages. From total salaries and wages, about 67% are spent on public safety, which is fire and police. About 8.5% on streets and stormwater, 13% on general government, 4% library, and 5% recreation. The biggest difference in prior year on that has to do with public safety, and it was the first year that you had a full year of fire department salary. So some public safety salaries were up quite a bit because it was a full year of their salaries included in that. The next graph shows your revenue trends over the last 4 years. They show your local taxes show a good strong increase over the past 4 years. As I said, that increase primarily relates to the increase in sales tax you've received and a little bit of increase in property taxes. Intergovernmental was about the same as it was in the prior year. Fines and penalties were down. Police fines were down in 2015 compared to 14 a little bit. License permits showed a little bit of growth. Your building permits are starting to come back a little bit, a little more revenue in that area than we'd seen in 2014. The other areas were pretty consistent with what they were in 2014. Next graph shows your trends over the last 4 years of your operating expenses. As you might note, the current expenditures are down just a little bit from what they were in 2014. And as I mentioned earlier, that's primarily due to in 2014 you had the startup costs for the fire department. Debt service is about the same as it was the prior year. And capital outlay, I mentioned in 2014 is about $7 million. In 2015 it was $5 million. The basic difference is what you spend on fire department improvements and capital outlay items. All right, the next graph shows the current expenditure trends. Pretty good graph in telling that you've got pretty good control over your expenses. Had a little bit of growth in general government, public safety being down some, as I mentioned, primarily fire department. Stormwater and streets was down a little bit. There were less stormwater projects in 2014 than there were in 2015. And the other areas were pretty close to what they were in the prior year. The recreation and library were very consistent with what they were in 2014. The next graph is salaries and wages. Everything was pretty consistent except for public safety, and as I mentioned before, that you had a full year of fire salaries in 2015 that weren't there in 2015. So that's basically a change in operations where it was under contract. Your fire services were under contract for part of the year in 14. And in 15 is a full year where you're providing those services and had all the salaries for the full year. The next graph is your medical insurance. This is the fund that provides your health insurance for your employees. The premiums received exceeded the benefits paid out by about $450,000. So that added to your reserve in that fund. Your reserve for the medical benefit fund now sits at about $980,000. That's a good, healthy reserve. Hopefully that can make you where you can keep your premiums pretty consistent and not have to raise them much and keep a good reserve for that fund. Next graph is your water and sewer operations. In 2015, you had a net profit of about $1 million. This profit's needed to pay for the debt service the debt you're incurring and for the improvements of the system and the growth of the system. But it has about several years ago that this fund was having trouble maintaining a healthy balance. I think now you've got control over that, and it's showing a pretty good operations and providing for the amount of funds necessary to pay your debt service and to provide for growth of the system. Next page just shows the debt service that you're going to incur over the next few years. The red lines is your general debt for the general city. It stands at about $2 million from now through 2020. The green line's your water and sewer debt. It's about anywhere from $1.8 million down to $1.6 million or $5 million or so for the next 5 or 6 years. As say, your general long-term debt gets pretty close to being paid off down about 2030, something like that. The next graphic shows the property tax rates, the city and the county rate. Rates have remained consistent over the last 4 years. I believe this year you had a small decrease in your property tax, but the county system has been consistent for 3 years, and y'all was consistent 4 years coming up to the year we're in today. Next graph is your fund balance. The red line is total fund balance. The green line is the general fund balance. Total fund balance is up about $4.5 million. Last year, in 2014, it was down $2.3 million. So you're able to recoup some of that negative eating into your fund balance in the prior year. Your unrestricted fund balance is about $9.8 million. That equates to about 6.5 months of operating expenses. The recommendation is to have about 6 months operation, 6 months in reserves, and 6 months of reserves, and so you've got a healthy fund balance with a little bit more than that 6 months reserve. That completes my presentation. I'll be glad to entertain any questions or comments.
Anybody have any questions?
It's a pleasure being a servant to the city. I've never answered any questions. Please feel free to give me a call. I'll be glad to work with you. Thanks very much.
Thank you for explaining it so well. Next, it'd be another presentation from Retail Strategy.
Thank you, Mayor and Board of Aldermen. I really appreciate you allowing us to be here today. And what we want to do, we've been working with the city for about 2.5 years, and just give an update over the activity for the last 6 months. It's just been an honor working with you and partnering with you. And we've been a part of a lot of the ICSC shows and a lot of outreach. I want to introduce our team and then turn it over to Tiffany Kilpatrick, who's going to highlight some of the activity over the last 6 months. But starting on the left, we have Jordan Williams. Jordan is a Retail Development Director at Retail Strategy. And then to his left is Jay Humphreys, Retail Development Associate. And these are your two retail recruiters. These are the gentlemen that are on the phone all day, every day, reaching out to the retail prospects that we think are a good fit for Laverne. We have Laura Hudson, who has been very active with the city over the last couple of years. I'm Lacey Beasley. And Tiffany Kilpatrick is with us. And Tiffany joined us in the fall from Hibbett Sports, where she was a real estate manager for about 11 years, opened 130 locations for them, very well connected in the industry, and she's the portfolio director now working with the city and the main point of contact. So I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Good evening. Thank you all for having us here tonight. Just want to go over a few things that we've been working on and what all is going on with the existing retail and hopefully new retail coming. So, like we said, our retail recruitment team has been in contact with retailers, brokers, developers, and landowners here in Laverne, and the contact is phone, email, face-to-face meetings at ICSC. And you were represented at the Tennessee-Kentucky ICSC Recon in Vegas, which some of you attend there as well, and the Southeastern Conference and New York National Conference as well. There is a new beauty supply retailer opening soon in the Food Lion Center in the movie gallery space. There is interest from multiple QSRs, which are the quick service restaurants, which are growing right now, and they are still working on the out parcels at the Walmart. We've been in close contact with Steve Kroger on those sites. And then we've also provided the Red Realty parcels to those interested quick service restaurants as well. Go to the next slide. And Lacey can talk a lot more on this, but we worked closely with the city, Browning Development, GBT on the possible shops at Stonecrest, created an economic impact report, analysis report for the city, conducted calls and meetings on your behalf, and trying to make that deal happen. And so we've also had multiple interests. The current leasing and ownership have multiple interests from some restaurant concepts for the existing or former wheel stand space. And then what's very exciting is Walmart will be opening soon, which we all know Walmart brings a lot of other retail interest with them, and so we feel like that's really created some momentum. Very excited about that. And then we're just continuing to monitor the Food Lion, the Rite Aid. You know, there's a possible merger with Walgreens and what's going to happen there. The Walmart out parcels, the Red Realty parcels, and then just the price of the available land in the market. And so we are very excited about everything that's going on, and happy to entertain any questions you guys have.
Anyone have any questions?
I would, Mayor. Since this is a workshop only meeting with retail strategies, I'd like to submit my request to either of you to contact me, and I'd like to meet with you and any other of the board members that would like to meet with you on any given day, because I have some other detailed questions I would like to discuss with you without taking up the time of this workshop meeting tonight. So I would really appreciate it if you'd get in contact with me or with Kristen to set up a time, and any other member that would like to buy in on it, feel free, and we can meet. Just give me a 24-hour notice and we'll need to talk.
Any further questions from anybody? Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 4, the consent agenda. A, approve bids and purchases. Number 1, Rutherford County bid, replacement patrol vehicles for police department.
As you all are aware, we did have a accident with one of our new SUVs. The insurance paid $21,100. We've gotten a demo that is on the lot at Fort of Murfreesboro on the Rutherford County contract, and they're going to give us a discount because it has 2,000 miles on it. We can take all the equipment off of the other vehicle and put on this one, and the price is $25,000. So I'd like to see us use that insurance money, and the police department can move some line items at the end of budget to pay for it. It's 21,100.
This is a
I saw that
police
check.
equipped vehicle, right?
This is a police-equipped SUV,
Okay.
or it will be when we take the equipment off of the totaled one and put it on this one.
You
But
said
it is the
demo,
police-
it kind of threw me off. I guess they just used it.
They used it for show and tell.
Okay.
Yes.
This is something like that, show and tell. This is 3 things, about 2,000
And it's several $1,000s cheaper than going with a 16 and then having to wait on it to get here. We really are kind of in need to put one in its place back on the
Is
road.
it the right color with it painted?
It's already black. Yes, sir.
Any further questions on, number one? Moving on, number two, state contract, backhoe for sewer department.
Yes, at this time, Michael Dietz and Garland went out and looked at the Caterpillars. This is a state contract. I've attached the state contract pricing, showing the discounts, showing what the discount should be. It's $90,155.76. You approved it in the, when we did the budget hearings. It was approved, and this is a budgeted item, and this is under budget. They will get a bucket with it in that, but that is all, and that is also on the state contract, so that it's a one price of the $90,155.76 for the sewer department.
I do want to note that the packet that I sent out
Yes,
last week was for a different backhoe.
it was,
They had not had an opportunity to actually go out and look at them. So this model is actually about $8,000 less than
Yes.
the one I sent you in the packets last week. So that, I just wanted to give that update. from
they got
them.
out there and found out that the forklifts wouldn't work properly for what they needed, and they didn't feel the need to spend that much more money for something that they didn't think would be a fit for their department.
You mentioned it comes
So
with
they
a
are-
bucket. It comes with a bucket.
Yes, sir.
Most backhoes I've seen, it's got a bucket in the front and a smaller bucket in the back.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And it comes with the buckets?
Yes, the bucket.
Okay. I just never seen a backhoe without a bucket.
Are you trying to be difficult, Mayor?
No, you said it come with a bucket.
I think you're trying to be difficult.
I just said, I never seen a backhoe without a bucket.
Yes, sir, it's gonna have the buckets. Would you like to demo it?
Say what?
Would you like to demo it when
I
it gets
would.
here? I'm sure Michael would let you come over there and demo it, so.
Just don't get too close to the
Feel
public
free.
works building.
Don't, yes, please don't, I
Well,
don't know, no, actually, go ahead and get close. Bring it to City Hall and demo it at
Don't
City
get
Hall.
close to the
I
mailbox.
won't get that.
Don't bring it out to Station 3rd.
But that is all I have on here. Is there any further questions
about
for me?
the backhoe with the bucket?
I'd like to make one statement. I know y'all might get tired of me, and I apologize for it, but I've talked to Glenn. I have not been receiving any email, so this is I'm sort of
I'm
behind the backhoe budget on this. So, but you said the key word, under budget, so I have
Yes,
no
it
problem
is under
with
budget. It was over
Yeah.
over $100,000 was put in the budget for this item.
Okay, I have no
Yes, sir.
problem with it.
I check before I do this.
I know you do.
Yes,
and
sir,
I
I-
checked on that, and I just wanted to get on record. to
Yes,
say
sir.
That, and I'm not trying to throw Glenn under the bus. I'm
No.
just saying that I have not had this information, but as long as it's under the budget.
Yes,
I'm
sir,
not-
it is under the budget.
Anybody have anything further about the backhoe with the bucket in the budget? Moving on to number three, state contract
On TV.
annual Microsoft software license renewal.
That's me.
Let me sit over there.
This is the annual Microsoft renewal that we do every single year. We're in the third year of it, so we'll be renegotiating as much we can next February with Microsoft and do another 3-year agreement. This one is like I said, the final payment of the 3 years, $41,750, and there's also a true-up payment of $6,000, I believe, and some change for the computers we've added since last year. We have to account for those and true those up. And that's mostly the laptops we've added into the fire trucks. There was about 13 that we added there, and some MDTs and a couple of miscellaneous computers around the city. So do you have any questions about this? Or?
The total cost for the renewal is $48,354.21. That's for the third year, as Glenn mentioned, plus the true up of the.
And this is one of those payments that, if I'm right, Phyllis, it comes out of multiple accounts, so it's budgeted for. She just pulls it out. She allocates it by a percentage of some sort from each of the
This is
accounts.
the third year we've done this, right?
Well, we've done it for several years, but every 3 years we have to redo the contract with them, redo the counts, all that sort of thing. So yeah, it's pretty much stays the same every single time. It's a 3-year span on the contracts.
Microsoft Outlook is an email program, right?
Mm-hmm. You want me to discontinue that?
I don't know. If Calvin's not getting his email, we might need to move
That's
this.
That's Apple. That's the iPhone.
Oh,
We'll have to get him a laptop.
I'm just kidding. Thanks.
Any further questions? Thank you. Number 4, repair Waldron Road / I-24 lighting.
Yes, sir. This is, I think I told you on several accounts, the council and the mayor, about the lights on the interstate getting knocked down, nobody knowing anything about it. We had a purchase order to put up 2, I think they put up right after Christmas, they put up, got them working. I had told you that we had 3 other lights down. I have turned in 1 insurance claim to Ms. Cheryl for that. The 2 others we didn't know anything about. It was like right at $4,000 each to put them in, and I was asking for like $18,000 to get we've got 5 or 6 pole lights out, which he says it could be nothing but a bulb ballast, but there's old wiring out there. I did talk to a gentleman from the state today and offered them back to him, and he didn't talk to him. But he's gonna get somebody to call me, because when THP does an accident report, we don't get them. And they go to Edric Street downtown, to the state of Tennessee. They put them down as the owners, and which I guess they are the owners, but we maintain it. And with this, over the last, I'd say, going on 5 years, we've spent roughly $50,000 out there on them lights. They all need to be rewired, because they need, when, Bruce had sent me an email today and said he didn't, that he needed a price. It's kind of hard to get a price on something you don't know what's wrong with it. I don't think they're gonna go out and check everything out and tell us what it's gonna cost, because it takes up their time. So, but, he will try to hold it under whatever he can, just because it's there, he won't spend it on. He don't know what he's getting anyway. I've talked to this gentleman. He's gonna have a maintenance guy call me back tomorrow and let me know what can be done and what cannot be done, because I'm not getting accident reports. So it's just steadily coming out of my budget.
Is there any way to recover any of that money from the insurance?
Yes, if I get an accident report. Most people just send the people an invoice for it. I try to find out the insurance company, and I contact them, send them, what it's gonna cost to fix it. And I have a retained $2,000 over the years on guardrails or the lights out there. But some of them they're old.
Yeah.
They go out. They've got bad wiring in them. Dave Stanzel had the contract ever since I've been here. He said there's bad wiring. It's crumbling. So,
I believe we also added these to our
Yes.
insurance renewal
yes.
starting in January. So I believe anything after January 1st will be covered under our city insurance. Obviously, we'll still have deductibles and things like that, but we may be able to recoup some of our funds from that as well.
That was along the line of my question that I was gonna ask too. There is no trauma to it. I mean, nothing hit it. You're just talking about just wear and tear.
There's been accidents, car accidents, because they set 7 foot off the interstate.
Mhm.
And we've had DUIs,
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture this. If there was an accident,
Yes,
then what's the delay on us getting an accident report?
because we don't do the reports.
I mean, I'm saying,
THP.
is there any way that we can negotiate with THP or the state
I'll
to
try,
just tell them to?
I'll call THP.
Okay.
I did get one that the state worked, and I get it through, ICA, they do the maintenance on, Rutherford County interstates.
Okay.
And he got that for me, but,
Okay.
you know, when our officers go out and they don't work it, they don't have the information.
Understood. I'm just saying, that it just seems that they should try to work with us a little bit.
When they fill out the accident report, the state does, and where it says property owner, they put state of Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
On Dedrick Street downtown, at a certain, and I don't know where they go, this guy didn't know where they went. He said they either go to planning or maintenance. And so the maintenance guy is the one supposed to call me tomorrow.
The cost to replace the 3 poles is $13,632. On the following page, which is not pulling up for me now, there is a $1,300 fee, as my app crashes, to inspect the high mast light for 1 day. So the total cost of those two is, 14,900 something. But then we may have the cost of replacing those 6 lights and whatever's wrong with that high mast light. So that's why Garland is asking for the $18,000 there to be approved at Tuesday's meeting.
Anybody have
Also
any
down the
questions?
line, he did give me a quote on, I talked to you about the LED lighting. It's $300 for each pole light, but I'm not asking for that to be done right now. Just trying to get them burning first.
But isn't that what they're switching over to?
You pay for it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, the majority of them, they're starting to switch over to
Yes,
it. So
yes.
probably, as far as the cost, would it be better to just go ahead and just think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have talked, and they're supposed to be getting me a price together, and I don't have the gentleman's name, but the guy from Stanzel brought him down. For on like our high mast lights, there's like 8 lights on it. These would be replaced with round ones that's got like 4 lights in it.
Yeah.
And I think it would be, I think he told me $1,200 per light, because it retrofits into the pole that's already there. The arm, it just goes into the arm, it wires directly up to it. But it'll save on your energy. He says it cuts your
Yeah, and
energy.
I'm thinking that everybody
Big
is,
time.
everybody, I mean, every place I've visited so far, everybody's switching over to them. So we might as well, if we're not gonna do it now, we might as well prep for it, because it's gonna happen.
Here he is looking for some kind of grant, and this guy told me that he can get me some kind, or tell me where I can get a grant, or look at a grant to do the LED lighting on the interstates.
I'll guarantee you, if in the future, and this is just my personal observation of the trends that's going on.
LEDs
in the
are
future, the LED is coming, and it's going to cost you more to replace the archaic lights than it would be to get you a new LED light. So I'm
But it's
just
supposed to
saying
cut
that
back on
probably-
your energy.
So you probably need to present that price, put that price in there so we can look at it, because
I
it just
wanna get a burner
it doesn't make
for it.
any sense to wait for it. And I think those things, it takes a long time for them, and unless they're hit, it takes a long time for them to just wear out. So I think that's one of the prices you should just look at putting that new price in.
They're supposed to be getting back with me.
Okay.
Any further questions? We're moving to number B. B is approved change order number 1 final for the near Swabman Boulevard, Murfreesboro Road intersection improvement project.
Mayor, this is the final change order, which is the only change order we've had on this project. It's going to, if you look at about the middle of the page that you're on the screen now, it's that $15,291.24. That's what the increase in this change order will be. Basically, the increased reasoning is not really extra stone. When Weiser did the design, I think they kind of had a bust in their quantities on the stone, and then also some of the asphalt. And that's where most of the increase is coming from. And we did have an inspector on site, and the amount of stone that they're showing that they used it is the amount of stone that they use. So everything out there was done properly per the plans. I just think Wiser had either an error in their estimating or something. But like I said, the change order will be an increase in $15,291.24, and which will bring the total project cost to that $227,342.74, and that still is in budget with what we had budgeted for this project, with the construction cost, design cost, and everything.
Any questions for Kyle on this? Number 5?
We did take 1,000 off for.
Yes, there was 1,000 that
Not
we
for
charged them on liquidated damages because of the time frame they were supposed to be completed in. I think, that question was brought up, hadn't seen any work out there, and of course they tried everything they could to get finished that last day, but didn't get done, so we charged them $1,000 for the additional day that it took them to get finished.
Any further questions for Kyle? Moving on to new business. Number 5, appoint or remove board members. Committee members. A, Library Board, 1 term is vacant.
Mayor, we do have the 1 vacancy on the library board. We've been advertising this on Channel 3. I actually did get 1 application this evening, so we'll put that on the agenda for Tuesday. It's from Bridget Cole, so that'll be on the agenda for Tuesday night. So we do have 1 application for that 1 vacancy.
B, Laverne Housing Authority, 1 vacant.
Yes, sir. We still have the 1 vacancy there. We've been advertising this on Channel 3. Have not received any applications. If I don't receive any by Tuesday, we'll take this off of the agenda for Tuesday night.
C, Historic Preservation Advisory Committee, 1 term vacant.
We have 1 vacancy. We here again have been advertising this on Channel 3. We have received 1 application from John Murray.
E, Board of Zoning Appeals, 2 terms expired,
We skipped
1/31/16.
We skipped the beer board there, Mayor, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
We'll come back to that one.
Okay. Board of Zoning Appeals. We had 2 terms that expire at the end of January. The terms of Graham Coates and Craig Pollock. We've spoken to both of them, and they would like to stay on the committee. We did receive 1 additional application from John Murray for the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Moving back to number D, Beer Board, 1 term expires, 12/31/15.
We had 1 term that did expire at the end of December. She would like to stay on this board. We've not received any other applications for this position, and that applicant is Lou Sullivan.
Moving to number F, Construction Board of Adjustment and Appeals, 2 terms expired, 1/31/16.
Yes, sir. The 2 terms are for David Waldron and Kevin Rowland. We've spoken to both of them, and they would like to stay on the board. I've got a typo in the memo there I have to change. But they would both like to stay on the committee. And we've been advertising this on Channel 3, have not received any other applications at this time.
Moving to G, Greenway Advisory Committee, 1 term expires, 1/31/16.
The term for Mark Dodd expires at the end of January. He has been contacted. He would like to stay on this committee. We have not received any other applications, and we have been advertising it on Channel 3.
H, Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, 2 terms expired, 1/31/16.
Yes, sir. The 2 terms are for Mary Jane Skinner and Tony Venata. We've contacted both of them. They would like to stay on the committee. We've been advertising this on Channel 3, have not received any other applications.
Moving on to I, FYI, Industrial Development Board.
As you're aware, we've been asking for members, for applications, I should say, for this board for quite some time. We did finally receive 1 application, so the ice has been broken. But we would like to appoint all of the members at the same time. So we will wait until we get enough applications to do so. And we're going to try and push this a little harder to try to get some interest. We're actually having some trouble on all of our boards and committees trying to get people to sign up. So it's not just this board. I mean, it's for all of our boards and committees.
Moving on to number 6, this is a resolution 2016-02, a resolution to amend the personnel policy and the procedures manual regarding disaster relief issues.
For several years, and I'm going to let Chris Clark talk about this a little bit more, but we've had some issues when it comes to disaster relief as far as not being able to get compensation back from TEMA that we should get. So Chris has been working on this, and I'm going to let him explain the one change there.
Over the last few months, I've been working on a disaster plan for the city of Laverne. One of the things to get everything in line with this deals with our personnel. And one of the things that I found, and what better else to result back to our last disaster here in Laverne, which would have been the May flood. It was determined that many of our exempt employees had many hours on the clock, overabundance. I think all of us did during that time, but one of the things that we're asking to do is at that point in time when a disaster hits and the city administrator feels that it's necessary that some of our exempt or the exempt employees that are working during this disaster in so many hours that they become hourly employees. Now this would only affect not during the normal business hours, but after business hours, such as weekends, holidays, all those kind of things. Now the second thing was, is we found out that there wasn't any reimbursement for uniforms during the May flood disaster. One of the things was it was told to your officials here that since it wasn't in their policies, that they weren't going to pay for it or reimburse it. So the city lost money during that time for boots, uniforms, and several other items. So what we're trying to do is get all this in line in preparation for basically a new disaster plan, and hopefully it's my goal is to be as easy as possible in the event that this occurs again.
And we know it will happen again, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, we, trends, I guess, about every 5 years, you can count on it. So, any questions? Sir?
Any questions for Chris while he's on the podium?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand what you mean by special circumstances like the May of 2010 flood, but how do we put that in words so that it's clear what the special circumstances would be? Evan, do you have any?
I think that we've spelt that out during disaster relief, during disasters under the authority of the city administrator.
Okay, I see.
It wouldn't be that I would stay up here and say, pick me, I want to be an hourly wage employee at that point.
Right.
We're talking, it will be very noticeable.
Right.
This is something that there's really no question about it.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
FEMA and TEMA would make a declaration.
Right,
Any
usually
kind of
these are during
disaster situation,
declarations.
That's what we're referring to.
Correct, these are major disasters. And I'll give you an example of that would be the Good Friday tornadoes. There's many of us that put many hours into this. Also with, and we're following right along with the rest of the county as far as the wording and then putting it in the employee handbook.
No. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Moving on, number 7, it's a resolution, 2016-03, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare certain property owned by the city to be surplus to the city needs and directing disposal of the same. Number 7.
Mayor, this is resolution we do several times a year. This time we have looks like 6 vehicles from the police department that we have seized and we've been awarded by the courts, and so we are able to put them up for sale at this time. Chief, I don't know if you have anything you want to add, but just.
Any question for the chief for the surplus items? These items will be sold, Chief, on, .gov, on the
Gov deals.
Gov deals, yeah.
On gov deals.
Okay.
That's the way we do all of those. Once they're awarded to us, and it goes through that waiting period after, then it's usually another month or 2 months or so before we actually put them on gov deal. Come back to you all and remind them that on gov deals. So they've been awarded and all of the time has passed. And on, I believe on all of these are all the deal award or DUI multiple events. And those funds actually, when our expenses are done, then Phyllis has to give the state a check for what's there. It's not like the drug fund. I would like to ask one thing though, if we could. The question came up the other day about, according to the statute, Evan, it says that we can recoup expenses. The only expenses that we actually claim for that is the tow itself, reimbursing us for the tow bill to have them brought here. That's my question, is there have been some things in the past with Department of Safety concerning storage charged by a municipality or a county government or even a state government agency. We have issues with trying to fence in back here with the cost. And my question would be, since these are the majority of what we have, even though, as you can see, we're not going to get a lot of money out of them anyway, especially on gov deals, because you see the mileage on them and the conditions are usually terrible. But is it possible that we could let Evan look into that and see if we could recoup our cost out of some of that for fencing, et cetera, some of those kinds of expenses, if that's permissible?
I think it would be a good thing to look into.
Okay.
Sure.
And also, Chief and Evan, I'd like to add an addendum to that, because we had discussed before meth labs, mobile meth labs. And I know that you can't put those on the general auction block because they are meth vehicles.
Right.
So is there a way that we can look at to see as far as a special exception, because those have to be stored, and actually have to be stored a little bit different from the regular ones.
They need to be secured.
Yeah, they've got to be, and it's totally different, and it's going to cost more. So if you could add that into it also.
Absolutely.
as an addendum.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll do that.
Any further questions on the surplus items? Moving on, number 8, this is discussion, sewer backup at 283 Stone River Road.
Mayor, I'll start on this, and then y'all can discuss however you see fit. Unfortunately, back November the 18th, we did have some sewage that backed up into the home of Miss Phillips at 283 Stones River Road, and also into the home of Mr. Mac Ford at 287 Stones River Road. When the event occurred, our sewer department was notified. They immediately went to the location, tried to find, what was causing the backup. They did find that the main sewer line, and I've got the manholes on the memo, was blocked. They used the pressure washer to clear the blockage. It appears that it was grease and sludge that backed up and caused that blockage. Prior to the event, the city was not aware of any issues in that line or in that area. Actually, the previous day, November the 17th, one of our employees checked a manhole in that area and found that it was flowing properly. So there was no apparent negligence on behalf of the city on any of our employees, and there was no way that the city could have been aware when or if that line would become blocked. Once we found out about the situation, we did file a claim with our insurance carrier, TML, and they did conduct an investigation into what happened. and determined the city was not at fault, and there's no legal liability on the city's part to pay for the damages. Therefore, they also would not honor her claim for damages, and I attached that letter in your packets. That's the letter that she was referring to earlier that she had not received a copy of. We were not aware that she had a post office box. TML was not either. So actually, they just contacted us this week because they received it back in their mail. And so we found the post office box numbers, and they should be sending you a copy now. So hopefully you'll get the official copy from them. Continue on. Unfortunately, this is not the first time sewage has backed up into her home. January 2008, there was another sewage backup. Claim at that time was also filed with TML, and they denied her claim. This time, the apparent cause for the blockage was tree roots that had grown into the main line, and it came before the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I believe it was June of 2008, and the board authorized the mayor to settle the claim for an amount up to $15,000. The final settlement amount at that time was $10,615 based upon the estimates and bills that she had submitted at that time. I did meet with Ms. Phillips on January the 4th. We discussed the situation. She showed me the pictures of her home and the terrible conditions that she is in. She did present, the cost estimates for what it would take to repair the home, and those estimates totaled $35,436.62. She also did receive a settlement from her insurance company for $5,000, because she had filed a claim with them, and so, we've kind of been looking into this ever since then to see what the city could do. If you look at various sections of the municipal code, there are some places that discuss this type of situation. Just in brief, 18-204 does state that the owner shall indemnify and save harmless the city from all loss or damages of any kind that may directly or indirectly be occasioned by the installation, connection, or maintenance of the sewer, including but not limited to all damages to persons and property. Basically just saying the city's not liable for any damages that may occur because they're connected to the sewer system. 18-209 discusses sewer line stoppages and basically says what the city is supposed to do, which the city will unstop sewer lines outside the property line at the expense of the city, which of course in this situation that's exactly what we did. And then 18-213 talks about damage claims. The city shall not accept responsibility for damages incurred by a customer, and it gives a couple of reasons why there. One would be damages caused by a defective condition in the wastewater system, unless the department receives actual or constructive notice of that condition. Of course, we didn't have any notice that there was going to be a blockage in that area, so there's no way that we could have known that it would happen. There is some insurance available through TML. It's a no-fault type of insurance that would cover sewer backups. It is kind of expensive. The annual premium would increase by approximately $5,600 per year, and there is a $10,000 deductible for each claim that is filed. The insurance coverage that they have the maximum amount that the TML would pay is $100,000, so anything else over that amount would have to be paid by the city if it was a big claim. Ultimately, what this boils down to in this situation, it's up to the board as to how you want to handle this situation. You could vote to pay for the damages, less the amount she received from her insurance company. You could vote to not make any payment at all, and we would still be in compliance with our municipal code. If you do feel that the city should pay for these damages, we'd be kind of going against what it says in our municipal code, so we would really need to look at that as far as, you know, if any changes need to be made there. And you also have to keep in mind that anytime we pay for damages like this, you are setting a precedence for anything that might come down the road. You know, if you get some large claim or something, it could be, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on, you know, where the backup happens. So I had talked to Evan about this, and, you know, I don't know if you want to talk about the legal aspects of it, or, you know, it just basically, there's some concerns there that's conferring a public benefit on a resident to which the resident is not lawfully entitled, and also, you know, where does this end? I mean, this could just continue on and on and on. So I've kind of summarized it. I know I've talked to several of you extensively about this situation, and you know, at this point, it's really just up to the board as far as how you want to handle it.
Evan, I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
I've got, you know, sort of a fundamental question I think you start with is, and this sort of, as I sit here and think more about it and listen to it, I question really even if you're authorized to pay any money based on the circumstances. I mean, I'm not sure you've got the power to do that in the event that there's no legal obligation on behalf of the city. So, I'm doing something dangerous as I'm thinking out loud, okay? But I am just going to think out loud since we're flushing through this. If our ordinances cut off liability for the city and say we're not responsible for it, our insurance carrier says we're not responsible for it, so they're not going to honor the claim, then I'm not sure what authority you have to issue money or payment to a citizen who has gone through a bad situation. There's no doubt about it. And I think the hard part about this is it's difficult to separate what the law says from what a nice lady Miss Phillips is. It's really difficult to listen to the story and your heart goes out to her, but at the same time, you've got to look back at what your law says and says, is this something we can even do? So that's sort of where I start with it, and I think that's probably the first fundamental question that really ought to be addressed.
Bruce, you said Miss Phillips and Mr. Ford.
Yes. Those are the two homes that it backed up into.
Has anybody heard from Mr. Ford?
He has not approached the city that I'm aware of asking for anything. I have not talked to him at all. So
My main concern is that I've read and I understand what Evan is saying, but you're saying a precedent. Before 2004, this thing happened on Willoughview and the city paid damages. Before 2004, similar happened on Engle Street and the city paid damages. Before 2004 in Woodland Hills, the same incident happened and the city paid damages. And just recently, 2008, at the same address, this same lady had the same problem and the city paid damages. And then on Michael's Way in 2009, it happened again, and in 2010, the city paid damages. So hadn't the president already been set?
Well, the only other, out of those instances you mentioned, the only one I'm aware of is the 2008. I'm not aware of any of the other. I mean, I'm not doubting what you're telling me. I think, I'm sure that's right, but I don't recall that ever coming before the council.
the one in 2009, I had to go back and look that one up on Michelle's Way. There actually was an agreement between the city and Chandler's, and the city did pay them $35,000, and that was in addition to other dollars that we had already paid to clean up the property. I think, you know, you gotta be careful how you phrase it, but, you know, just because it's happened before doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do legally. You know, I really think that, you know, if we're going to continue to pay these you know, repair costs, we need to do something about our municipal code to make it legal.
You know, but if I say this happened one time, but I found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and not counting the Miss Phillips and Mr. Ford, that's
Well, in the
five
minutes,
times
in the
before.
minutes, I've only been able to find 2 other occasions. One was Michelle's Way, and then the other was Miss Phillips from
Well,
2008.
902 Willoughview, before 2004, the sewer backed up in the trailer. And then Woodland Hills, a stump got into the sewer system and backed up into the house on Woodland Hills. And then this even go back and further than that, it happened, the first time I could find it happened over on Ingle Street. But, you know, I want to go by the city code, but it looks like the city's already done broke their own code in the past, so I don't know. I'm talking out loud.
Yes, sir. And Mayor, I think if going along with what Bruce said, if this is something that the city wants to start doing, then I think the city needs to look carefully at having a policy to allow it. And one thing the city needs to keep in mind is that your insurance carrier is telling you the most it's gonna cover for you is $100,000 minus a $10,000 deductible. So anything over $90,000, you're going to be 100% responsible for. And the first time something happens where, you know, I don't know, I mean, we could come up with all sorts of examples, but it could be a significant financial liability for the city to take on the responsibility. And it's probably why the ordinance was written the way it was in the beginning, so that, because the city couldn't afford to undertake that responsibility.
If I say something I'm supposed to, stop me before I stop, but it looks like that the city's already started the precedent, and if we do need to take out a different form for the future, that's something we might need to talk about, but.
Yes, sir, and that's y'all's call. I mean, that's totally up to the board. If that's something that you want to do. One thing you'll never hear me say is that just because you've done it before and it was wrong doesn't mean that you should keep doing something that's wrong. I mean, if mistakes were made or it was done wrong before, that's not a reason to keep doing something that's not right.
I mean, I did, like Ms. Phillips said, I did go over there the day it happened, and it was a mess. I don't remember saying the city was responsible, but as big a mess it was, I could have said anything, but it was a mess.
I'm sure.
I don't think nobody should go through what Ms. Phillips went through. That's no doubt. But,
yeah, I don't think anybody.
But looking at the city bylaws and looking at what I found the city has done is 2 different things. So I'm confused.
I have a question, if I may, Mayor. Can I ask a question on it? And my question is directed to Bruce and Evan. Is there any way that we could possibly have a meeting with the LMC as we did the previous lawsuits, and we could have a closed meeting to discuss this?
It's not pending litigation.
Okay. Yeah, we'd have to actually have a lawsuit filed, yes, sir, in order to be able to do that.
Here's my thoughts, guys, and I'm one of the ones Bruce alluded to. I've spoke to him for 5 hours in the last couple of days, and Ms. Phillips, I spoke to her for probably 10, 15 hours over the last couple of weeks. I hear what y'all are saying about the municipal code, but I also, in our ordinance, but I also wonder if it ever did get to a lawsuit, how much teeth that really would have if it is our responsibility. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it is our responsibility, but I know a board back in 2008 claimed responsibility. In doing so, the city was proactive. And Ms. Phillips, I want to say to you that I know our guys have been out, and they've been out on the quarters and trying to be diligent and take care of that. And no one could foresee that was going to happen. And in fact, just the fact that they were out there the day before and that happened, you know, it shows that the city was there. No one can predict when that's going to happen. And certainly, the torrential rain that infiltrated our, manholes and came through could have broke some grease away and so on. I think they have tried to be diligent and proactive. I think some other things can be done, because the real issue is where your house is in the elevation, and that's what's causing it. And unfortunately, at this point, along that part of the system, you are the lowest part. And Kyle, please correct me where I step out of line here. And that's where it's flowing, and it has twice now. I do believe this, and I want to say this to you with all due respect. I understand your situation, and if we can help in any way, I'm not saying this board, but if we can somehow do it, help you in any way as just a resident, we'd love to do that. But in 2008, you know, a backflow preventer could have been put on. I also know that you have, and I know you're trying to say something here, so I'd ask the board if she does want to say, at least give her this right to speak up to us here. And I'm going to be try as short as I can be on this, but that does fall back on to a resident, and I understand your circumstances. And I hope moving forward, that's one thing, however it happens, it gets taken care of, because I don't want this happening to you. But what I did also find is there's also 5 other properties that are further down that line that are just as low as you. So if we correct your problem, we may be diverting. So there is a problem here in some regards, guys. And I'm not going to say the city's 100% responsible. If I had my ideal situation, I'd love to see us try to find some sort of remedy for Ms. Phillips, whatever that may be. And I'd also like to look at a couple things that can prevent in the future, not just for Ms. Phillips, but for the other ones that are in low-lying areas there. And we spoke about a bunch of different options yesterday with Michael and Kyle. One option would be to pull you off the gravity system altogether and put a grinder pump in. By doing so, you may incur some costs of electric, but you'll never have this issue again. And then, go ahead. You seem like you want.
What I would love to do, I'm getting up in age. If God gives me enough money to where I can put whatever it takes to keep it from backing up. Right now, my son sleeps on the cot in the den. I sleep on his bed in my bedroom because I couldn't get it in the pod. And the temperature in my house, in that end, goes down to around 55 degrees. If it wasn't for a lot of blankets and my dog keeping me warm,
I understand.
I don't know. But if I save up money to try to get out of debt, because I'm tired of being in debt. I work on a budget.
Yes, ma'am.
Trying to get things settled so I can get bills paid off. I don't go out and eat. I don't buy clothes. Most of my clothes is given to me.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not crying a pitiful story. I'm telling you the truth.
Ma'am, it is a pitiful story. And I'm agreeing. I said it is a pitiful story. And I hate that you're going through it, and I'd like to find some remedy for you. Okay, I really would. And I think that this board won't be able, doesn't even have the authority, if we have the authority, to vote on it until Tuesday. But I'm saying to this board right now, I'd like to, if there is some possible solution between the city and you, you know, ma'am, if we can find it, I certainly will support it. I also say going forward, there's some other issues that I believe that, as we spoke about, that we can address down with that can hopefully stop this and prevent this from ever happening there again. This was, in my opinion, not necessarily the city's responsibility. There's some elevation issues. However, this has happened. We stepped in once before, and maybe we didn't go far enough. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I know one thing. It's a mess.
Yes, ma'am. I totally hear that.
And when the cold air is coming up underneath and the subfloors got cracks, I went and bought some black paper and put down. They put a bathroom commode where that we could use it, because my son is not allowed to leave that address.
Let me say this to you. As I sat here, and I haven't looked at them, but my phone keeps going off, and there's some people that are even volunteering to help you in some regard. And that would be great, and I know the community always steps up when there's an issue. What I'm trying to say is we understand your issue. I understand your issue, and you know how many times we spoke. You know, I would love to give the mayor and these two gentlemen, our city attorney and city administrator, the ability to negotiate something. If that would be something that I've asked for, and I will ask for Tuesday, and I would love to give staff the ability to step up and correct some of the problems, or put some of the whether it's again a grinder pump, whether it's the check valves, whatever it is. And some of these can be done at limited, at lower cost. You know, again, speaking with everyone, we know that there are some things that maybe can alleviate this going forward. So that's what I'd like to, what you'll hear me say on Tuesday. I'd like to find a remedy for her, whatever that may be, for Ms. Phillips and also Mr. Ford. And I'd also like to do something so we're not facing this, or any board is facing it again moving forward.
Anybody else have any comments on this subject? So Bruce, this we'll put on the Tuesday night's agenda for a vote.
Yes, sir, I'll put a motion on the agenda, basically just saying motion regarding sewer backup at 283 Stones River Road. So that I'm leave it as wide open as I can. So.
And this will have nothing to do with the neighbor, Mr. Ford.
Well, at this point, the only one that we've had any request from is Ms. Phillips at 283 Stones River Road.
Were those the only two properties that had this particular problem during this event?
As far as I know, yeah.
We need to also think that
What prevented the
she
other
is
three
a
houses
very
that are on
old
that
lady,
street in the low
and we
lying area
need to
from
consider that
having
because
issues?
I don't know that for sure, but my guess would be
by
that
yourself
you know,
and you
it
don't
had
know
already
what-
flowed out there, so it didn't make its way back. And our quick response by our sewer department to clear out that line. Now, Michael, I don't you.
breaks
The-
my heart.
Speedy response time?
Yes, ma'am.
And it might be that them two was the lowest,
Right.
the lowest on the
They were
pole.
the nearest to the blockage, probably.
If it didn't come out of them two residents, it would have probably moved on down the line. Is that right, Michael?
Yes.
If it somehow or another it didn't come out of them two residents there, it might have just moved on down the line.
Yes, sir, absolutely. After talking with Neil, we've got about 5 houses within that area that had the elevation issue, so had it been sealed tight at that resident, there is a possibility that it would have just moved on down the line.
But the one reason them two, they was at the lowest point.
They're the first two connections on the low point, yes, sir.
Well, I think we need to also realize that she is an elderly lady and she's by herself. And it is not easy being in that situation. So I don't know what we can do, but I think we should do anything we can to help her.
And if I could jump in one more time too, right along those lines, Sherry, you know, the mayor just read off 7 of them, but speaking to Neil, speaking to Michael, speaking to Kyle, speaking to Bruce, I don't believe it's ever happened at this magnitude before. Certainly there were some issues, but this happened twice at the same residence at this magnitude. I mean, it wasn't just a backup that went on the lawn, on the street. This was actually shooting out of her shower, her toilet, and so this is, to me, this is a unique situation. This isn't your typical everyday blockage, Michael, as you described to me, where toilets are slow to flush because there may be a blockage or whatever. This was a full-blown, probably the worst that we've seen in Laverne at all. So, and for it to happen twice at the same residence, again, I know the city's done what it could, and will continue to do that. But this is a unique situation. This isn't just trying to. The next time we get a blockage, we step up and say we're going to pay for this, pay for that. This is something that has happened, and now it's happened a second time. Is that? Did I
Yes,
put
sir.
that fair?
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct. We have this. I mean, we have this situation come up on a weekly to monthly basis. I mean, that's part of what we do. With this being the elevation issue, that's the main problem there. I mean, ultimately it is. Typically, we'll get calls where, like you just spoke of, a toilet's flushing slow or a bathtub's draining slowly. Yes, that could be, you know, a problem on the homeowner underneath their house, but sometimes we get out and we do have a blockage in the main line. We'll go out, we'll unclog it, and then we'll investigate that line with camera and pressure washing, whatever. And as Ms. Phillips spoke of, the crews was out today. They had went out the day after this initial blockage and camera or pressure wash from Tile Lane to Stones River Road. That section had been done. I had them check these manholes after talking with Bruce on a weekly basis. They informed me last week that there was some grease buildup at one of the manholes up by Junior High Drive. So I had them go out today. Just a coincidence today's the day, but they went out today and pressure washed from Junior High up to the elementary school, I believe it is. So they did that section. So we wasn't directly in front of Miss Phillips's house, but we are working on that line. And then we're going to continue to go up Stones River Road or Sand Hill Road next, because that's where that line goes. We want to investigate. When we get a problem, that's when we start looking into it. So we're gonna spend some time and effort on that line, as well as rain. We had infiltration. We had a lot of rain that day. I was actually on vacation the day that this happened. And I got a phone call, but I do know it was raining because I was sitting in the deer stand getting soaked. So yes, sir, the rain didn't help either.
Go ahead.
If we, if the city did decide to put a grinder pump, that would prevent future problems for those 5 houses, or just for hers, or how does that work?
We would have to get with Neil, obviously, look at some elevations. There would probably need to be a survey done, I would think. I feel like a grinder pump would be the best route to go as far as it not happening again, because of the setup. You've got check valves, and you could even put 2 check valves in a pressure line. You could put just a standard check valve in a gravity line. That is subject to fail, as anything is, you know. It may hold for 10 years, it may hold for 20, it may break in 5. It's hard to say. A grinder pump, at the very worst situation, the sewage, if something was to fail, would come out of the lid. It would have an overflow. But with that being said, you have an alarm on a grinder pump. So typically the homeowner should get an alarm, a buzzer, and a red light going off on the side of their house that tells them, hey, give the city a call and we'll come out. And that's several feet before overflowing. So a grinder pump, yes, I think that would be the ultimate thing to do if we were to do something that we did not want to have this problem again.
I believe
One thing we want to make sure of is whatever you do with just one residence does not cause the issue at the other residence, because then the city is causing the problem at that point. So we need to make sure that when we do this, and if there's something we can do, that we fix the whole area. That way, if there is a backup in the future, that it, you know, we definitely don't want sewage on the ground either, but I'd rather it be out on the ground in the road, in the public right-of-way, as opposed to in someone's house. So we just need to make sure that when we, whatever fix we choose, that it's not causing it to go to another house, because then I think at that point the city would be accepting a lot of liability. So,
just so the board knows the prices, and I think Neil and we talked that the check valves are about $400 to $500 a piece, the ones that he's recommending.
Yes, sir.
And a grinder pump, $3,000 to $5,000.
Yes, sir. I would say $3,000 to $5,000. That's what the city doing to install. Now, there would be some extra costs as far as electrician, because they would have to have wiring running their house, to power the pump. So and that could be anywhere from, I don't want to say a number really, but $200 to $1,000 to $1,000. I mean, it just depends on how the wiring and situation. I'm not an electrician, but I have made some calls and asked that question, looking into this.
and one thing on the grinder pump, just to keep in consideration, it may solve the problem, but that's one thing that we try to stay away from, because it's a huge expense for the city.
Yes.
That we start incurring costs for now, forever, because when that pump gets bad, we've got to replace the pump. When the pump has an issue that's got to be worked on, we've got the on-call guy out there working on it. So we've got to keep that in consideration too. We don't want to put a whole area that could go to gravity on grinder pumps, you know, but then again, on like the check valves like we talked about, you put a check valve in, let's say the check valve closes for some reason, and then causes a backup. Nothing was in the main line, but now we've got a check valve that caused this backup. So if we was to do something like check valves, you know, it's kind of along the same lines of what we've already got, but we'd probably want to have something signed from the homeowner that states that you're holding the city harmless of any damages caused by the check valve if we're putting it in, because we're only putting it in, you know, for the best intentions of that homeowner, but we definitely don't want to incur liability for, if it's mechanical, it can fail. And if it fails and it closes, like I say, with no backup, the city put that in, the city just now caused the backup. So we got to be careful with that.
And there's also some concern with this being elevations. A check valve, it may be tough in this situation to get it to open. You know, you've got to have enough flow to get that thing to open, so.
Well, I believe there's 2 parts to it, and obviously the first is Ms. Phillips and her son have been sitting in this since November 17th. So I think that's first, but I know this board has all confidence in all. There's another way that you can, an overflow area basically, but that would have to be, state would have to allow that, and that may be a little more costly if you did that, correct? If you
There's a lot of options that we can look at this whole area. It's kind of like what Gage said earlier. We're going to have to survey and start looking at what elevations everyone else is, you know, find a location that maybe it would come out onto the ground as opposed to coming in someone's house. Because, you know, like, as you can see, a blockage has happened twice now. Is it gonna happen again? It may not ever happen again, but
Sure.
in all likelihood, it's probably gonna happen again. It's just, is it gonna be that exact location or further down the line? We don't know. And as the mayor has stated, I think he's got a list there of several other locations this has happened. So this could happen at other locations that we don't know about.
But each one of these locations, like at 902 Willowview, after they repaired the residence, the city went and they spent thousands of dollars to improve the line. As a matter of fact, I think they even replaced the line. They replaced the line, and then on the Woodland Hills deal, they even tore the road up and tore the people's yard up and spent $1,000 to improve it, and they hadn't had no problem since. Michelle Way, I don't remember what was done over there.
Michelle Way, if I remember correctly, I think was more like this kind of blockage here. It was a grease blockage that after they cleaned it out, that's all they did. They didn't have to repair the line or anything, so.
So if that's the case, Michelle Way, that could happen again, if nothing was done to correct the problem.
Well, any line that we've got in the city, because like even the damaged lines you're talking about, because it sounds like if they had to dig up the road and repair the line, you've had line damage, okay? As lines age and get older, something could happen at any point in time. It can cave in. I mean, we've had Rutherford Point apartments that you've had numerous trouble there. I don't think it's backed up in apartments as much or anything, but remember we had to do a project to replace that line because it was just deteriorating. Okay, you could have the same issue somewhere else that causes a backup. You got the same issue, so it's just something that's got to be maintained.
And I'm going to say one more thing about the insurance. Bruce and I have spoken about it. Right now, with just the two that we've known of, 2008, 2009, and then now, it wouldn't be cost effective to have that insurance. But a good part of our city is getting to that point where things are going to start to break down. And I don't need to go into, let's say, how quickly things were built. And I'll just put it like that. These may start happening more and more frequent. $5,600 a year at $100,000 minus $10,000 deductible per occurrence, though. So we don't top out at $100,000 to be per occurrence. I think it may be something the city or this board or future boards look at. That's just my thought. Right now, it may not pay for itself, but down the line, I kind of think it will.
Anybody else have anything to say?
Of course I do. I'd like to say one thing. This is my first time again of hearing about this. It seems that Tom, or Alderman Broker, has been well informed in it, and I think that that's in itself is a problem. I'd like to say this on the record, that if anyone has a problem sending me an email, you can get with the city and call me. I have a telephone number and a city phone that's assigned to me. I've been able to receive calls. And this is no indictment against Ms. Phillip or anyone else. I just want everyone to know that there are 5 of us on here, and with Tom giving me his point of view, all I can go on is the fact that we've got a law in place right now. And I don't, again, I sympathize with Ms. Phillip. But if we open this gate, if we open this floodgate right now, there are many questions that I would have asked, and there are many questions I'm going to ask, and I will be checking on. Are there any other places that got elevations like this? Are there any other places in the city that this could happen to? And, you know, as Kyle just said, this can happen anywhere. We're talking about man-made materials here, which can happen anywhere. And you're talking about something that can basically bankrupt this city if we start just fixing everything that comes up. I heard mention of a signed agreement. Yeah, we can get a signed agreement. That's just like a prenup. We've got lawyers out there that specialize in debunking prenups. I mean, you can sign an agreement saying you're not going to charge the city for anything, but that still happens. I just don't, you know, you got laws and we got an ordinance that's in place right now. And again, I'm only going by what I'm hearing tonight because I haven't had a chance to study this. And as you all might know, I like to read over stuff before I even come to this meeting. I'm coming here blind right now. All I can go by is the fact that we've got the city attorney sitting right here, and we've got an ordinance that's in place. You know, it sort of basically says what, you know, 213 says what the ordinance is. And again, I cannot say enough that the sympathy is there. And you're talking basically $15,000 for an insurance policy, or guaranteed $5,600 a year, and then a $10,000 deductible on each occurrence. That's a lot, and I think that's something that we need to look at, and I think that's something that this board also needs to discuss in a little bit more detail. I understand, I heard the date 11/17, that Ms. Phillips has been inconvenienced with this situation, which is also a health risk at this level, and I sympathize for that also. But I think that we need to look at this, and we need to look at it a little bit better with everyone being informed on this matter, because, and I don't mean to sit up here and sound like I'm whining, but I knew nothing about this. And it's an embarrassment that I have to sit up here and make it look like I'm going against Ms. Phillips on her situation. But all I can go by is what's in black and white, and the law says in 18-213 what the law is. And then I'm looking at also the, as far as the liability of the city. I would like to discuss this a little bit further, and I just, as far as me putting forth a vote on Tuesday, after, with the ramifications being what they are, I'm not comfortable with it. So that's my view on it. I think that this needs to be discussed a little bit further to see exactly what's going on. And I'd like to look at some of the things that, you know, my colleagues have been given to look at to see exactly what exactly is happening here.
But I suggest between now and Tuesday, you get with Evan or Bruce or
Definitely,
whoever
I
you need.
will. I'll be making those phone calls.
See what you do.
Please don't text me. I'm gonna call you, and if you don't hear my voice, then that means I might not get your message. So I'm gonna call you, and we're gonna talk. I'll take a day off and come in and talk about this, because I need to know about this a little bit further on this to see what's going on. Because we're looking at something that's gonna be this is gonna be a big fight. This is gonna be expensive.
Well, if you don't mind me jumping in, and I can understand what you're saying. This wasn't presented to me by anyone. I did get a resident call about a month ago, and then these guys have heard me say it. I'm the least have any kind of expertise in this, so I've wore them out.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand what you're saying there, but I want to just address one thing as far as the insurance. Again, like I said, right now it wouldn't be cost effective. And I keep hearing that it's going to set a precedent, but we did this in 2008. And I think we can define this because this is a unique situation. I don't want to go to as far as Chris Clark talked about some kind of disaster, but this is something that doesn't happen in Laverne. And there may or may not be some issues here surrounding it. I'm not even putting the city on the hook for it, but we have already set that precedent. There hasn't been, we didn't open the floodgates from 2008 to 2016. We've had one other one, the mayor just told us, in 2009. And I think we can define in a case-by-case situation. If there's something the city is potentially has any responsibility for, I say that we do the right thing, we take care of our residents. And I'm not saying you're not saying that. You need to have more information, but I don't see that we've set a precedent. I know in my 6 years, I think this is the first time that it's actually come in front of the board as far as something to this magnitude, or even a resident asking for some sort of relief. Another time I can think of, Bruce, and was the flood and that FEMA, all that stuff that came after that, about a year after, like in 2011. So I haven't seen that floodgate open. And if the mayor's going back to 2004 and there's only been 7, you know, if the city had any responsibility in this, and I don't know whether we do or we don't, we have to look at that, investigate it, and get more facts on it. But if there is some responsibility or we have any part of this, then I say, yeah, we step up and do what's right by our residents.
And
I don't think you disagree with that.
I know, I agree with you 100% on it, and I'm not saying that the floodgates are opening. I said there's a possibility of the floodgates opening. Ms. Phillips is here tonight. We have 37,000 other individuals in this city. That means there are a whole lot of other homes that could come up with this same problem. So that's what I'm saying. If we're going to deal with this situation now, let's be prepared to deal with it and use the same residence status with the other
Same standard going
37,000
forward.
people. Let's move this forward. And I think we need to fix this so that we won't have to look at this again. We do the same thing like we used to do in the Planning Commission. We want to make sure that we stop it. We stop it here so we don't have to readdress the situation every time we have a meeting. And that's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that the floodgates haven't been opened, because if there are 7 people, if there are 7 residents of the city of Laverne, then there are 7 problems that we need to address. I just don't want it to turn into 37,000 problems that we are addressing down the road. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
think if you'll check each one of these 7 I've got, I think each one of them had a unique, specific problem. The problem with Ms. Phillips and Mr. Ford was their elevation. They was too low. If they'd have been road level, it wouldn't have happened to their residents. Nobody else around there had the problem because they was higher up. The problem at Willoughview, I think it was the pipe. You know, and I'm trying to think. I think their pipes was clay pipes. Then that sewer was put in at Willoughview back in the early '60s. And Michael Way and the Woodland Hills, I'm not that familiar, but I'm more familiar with the 902 Willoughview than I am with the other 2. But each one of these deals was unique. You know, most people, it's not going to.
I think what that makes hers even more unique is the fact that she's, to this level, to this magnitude, it's happened to her twice. You were able to pull up 7, that's more than I've heard, you know, and I've asked some people and no one could really remember. But there's not been a occurrence twice at the same residence, which leads me to believe that there is some sort of, again, we know it's the elevation issue.
I kind of think on each one of these deals that the problem was corrected. I think on Miss Phillips, from 2008, 2009, the problem wasn't corrected. It was not a backflow valve put in, and our resident would stay at the same level. Either one of them issues would have been addressed. It's a good chance that this problem wouldn't have, lightning wouldn't have struck twice. If on one of you, if they hadn't dug up the pipe and replaced the pipe, if they'd have just went and patched it, cleaned it up, I feel surely that the Willoughview thing would have happened again and again.
But the problem was addressed and fixed is what you're...
Right. But, you know, I think we've kind of got off track a little bit with that. I think right here, right with the vote's going to be Tuesday night is what to do with Miss Phillips. Now, what we do with the insurance, I think that's going to be a different thing. I mean, it's good to have discussion. Cheryl.
In speaking about the insurances, we have to let you know that we cannot add the insurance during the mid-year. The insurance cannot be added until the renewal, which will not take place until July. So if something happens between now and then, we are not at liberty to add the insurance. So that needs to be a point of discussion. So we cannot add insurance mid-year through the policy. It would have to come in the form of a renewal. So if something happened again between now and then we would be in the same position to have to discuss this.
Thank you, Cheryl. Anybody have any more questions? I think everybody needs to call Ms. Bruce, needs to call Michael, or call Kyle, or whoever they need to call to get what information they need to get ready for Tuesday night. Anybody have anything to say on the tour back up? If not, we're going to move on to the mayor and alderman comments. Start with Alderman Jones.
I'd just like to say tonight, first of all, I'd like to commend our city street department. Y'all did a great job. Everything was fine as far as getting out there and doing what you could do when it needed to be done. And I appreciate that. And I was happy to be able to. I was actually on vacation during the time that the storm came in, and if y'all hadn't did it, I'd been able to call them and tell them I couldn't make it in Monday morning, but that's another story. But, you know, I'm glad y'all cleared my street so I could at least get in on that. The other thing that I like to say, I'm not being facetious, and I'm not trying to be rude to anyone, but I just like to make sure that everyone that's taking notes tonight, put the proper notes in when you post it on social media tonight, and let everybody know that, you know, what the, even though it's a workshop only, let them know what the audit report said for this current administration, because I'm quite sure that just like anyone else, you put what you want. And also with situations like that, let's just be straightforward and inform the citizens that aren't able to be here tonight, and the ones who won't be able to see it on YouTube until it's posted. But post it properly. Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Brown.
I don't have anything. Have a good month.
Alderman Broker.
No, sir.
Vice Mayor Green.
No.
I got one for you, Garland. How come he got his street salted and graded, and I didn't get mine salted and graded?
Yes, sir, you did. That's how I found out your vehicles were moved.
My vehicle not have been moved, but I still got out.
I'm just saying that that's when I seen him when I was plowing your road. I done it. No, he wasn't working.
Now I'm mad he didn't do mine.
He didn't do mine.
I see where we rank.
I'm gonna leave off the part that he did my driveway too. I'm not gonna.
I think we need some more plows is what it's gonna boil down to. We need more equipment.
All right, let's go home.
Well, I want to tell everybody about the Citizens Police Academy. I took it last year, and it was great. I encourage everybody to take it, and it's coming up in February the 16th. Call the 793-7744 and ask for Sheree Roberts. If you can, huh? Oh, Robert's doing it now?
Robertson, Sheree Robertson.
Robertson, yeah, Robert's son. Well, I was close. And if anybody can take it, I mean, it's great. I'm gonna plan on taking the Fire Academy this year. But I had a ball. I learned a whole lot of things about the police department that I didn't realize they had. I mean, they take it serious over there.
We hope so.
And
Yeah, we got 3 buckets.
yeah. And on the Laverne, I think they done a real good job with the equipment they had. I think Smyrna probably done a little bit better job, but they got twice as much equipment. I think we was right behind Smyrna in cleaning the roads, but we done almost as good a job as Smyrna with half the equipment, so I think we done a good job. And maybe next snow, maybe I'll get my street plowed. And I want to capitalize on the we had 2 companies, one to expand and one to come in, and together going to create 450 new jobs. And between both companies, they're going to expand $61 million in revenue, in capital revenue, and I think that's good. 450 jobs, that's a lot of jobs, a lot of people to work, and appreciate they having them in. And I checked with Ricky, and Friday they had that snow. He said we had 0 911 accident calls, and Metro Nashville had over 150. I think
We have
2
We
within.
have more than that in accidents themselves.
I thought you said we had 0.
Ricky doesn't handle that part.
Okay. But Nashville had 150. I think the citizens of Vergne done a good job. They stayed at home, and the ones that got out just had to get out, and I think Public Works done a good job, even though they didn't clean my street. And, I don't have anything else, so I call this workshop adjourned.